Good morning, Calm 181. This is Kelly Arnold, your instructor, and this is your first informational video for your second bi-term course for Calm 181. I will be doing a video each week like this just to give you updates, reminders, and maybe do some chapter reviews, and also to cover a few things pertaining to your speeches. This first one, I just want to welcome you, first of all, to the course. I'm excited to have you, and I'm excited to hear your speeches for this term. I also want to talk about deadlines that you have and your assignments. Just as a reminder, your assignments are going to include your PES form, which is a contract with the class. There's no right or wrong answer to it. It's more about you being professional as far as doing your work, responding in emails, and things like that. So it's a contract, and you just mark where you're at right now, basically, in the contract. And then the Blackboard orientation, if you have not completed that, you need to go into your Blackboard page for this course, and it's on the content page. You can go in and it will prompt you through the entire orientation. If you have done that, you are welcome to send the certificate that you've completed that from another course. That is fine, just as long as I know that you've gone through the process. Both of those are due the March 31st. Those are easy grades, easy points. So make sure you get those in by the deadline. And then your discussion boards, I keep those open the entire term, but I want to encourage you to go in each week and complete those, or at least by the time the deadline is set for. And they all have deadlines, and you can see those when you go under discussion board. For each one of those, you can see what the deadlines are. Make sure you're answering the question and that you're responding to at least 2 other people. That will get you the full credit, okay? And then what I try to do is go in and briefly respond to everyone, and then I usually post a big response after the deadline has passed for that particular discussion board. Your speeches. Your first one's going to be due March the 26th. That's the self-introduction speech, and I'm going to talk more about that in just a moment. Your second speech is due April 16th, along not only the speech is due, but also you're going to have to do a formal outline. And I will have a whole video over outlining. And there's tons of information and resources in Blackboard under course materials. You're going to find tons of resources and information about all your assignments, and then specific things pertaining to your speeches, and outlining, and also citing your resources and things of that nature. The final, which is your persuasive speech, also serves as the final, would be due May 3rd. That's going to be on a Wednesday. Typically, the speeches are due on Sunday, but being that it's finals week, I'm going to have the deadline on that Wednesday because that gives me time to grade and to get the grades in at the end of the term. You also have quizzes that are due each week, chapter quizzes. The deadline for those are all April 28th. I keep those open the entire time, but I want to encourage you not to put those off to the very end. There's 20 chapters, 20 quizzes. So you should be going in, reading the chapters each week, or multiple chapters in this case, because we're doing this in an 8-week period. Go in and read those chapters and complete those quizzes, okay? The system automatically does that through Connect. Connect is our program, kind of our sister program that we use to upload your speeches and to complete your quizzes. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as far as pertaining to your speeches. Just make sure you're not putting things off to the last minute, that you're working on this throughout the week and each week. And I try to send email reminders to you, videos, and then there's tons of resources and information already in Blackboard, and it's pretty simple to go in to your Blackboard page, scroll down, go under course materials, and take a look at all the information that is provided for you. You need to read all of that and read all of your syllabus, because a lot of those questions that you might have will be answered in those materials. Of course, you're always welcome to email me at any time, and I'll get back with you as soon as I see it. Typically, I try to stay on top of that on a daily basis and make sure I'm getting back with you. Okay, your first speech assignment is your self-introduction speech, and that is actually going to be due March 26th. That's why I wanted to go ahead and get this video done this week and get this out to you. Self-introduction speech, that is about you, but it's more than just the facts about you. I want to know what motivates you, things that you're interested in. An example that I like to use, let's say you need to come up with main points for your speeches, all your speeches. But this is just a good example for a self-introduction speech. You might decide to talk about your faith, your friends, your family, or your family, your faith, and the fun things that you like to do, or your special interests that you like. That's what I would consider the main points that you want to talk about, okay? So with your self-introduction speech, it needs to be 2 to 4 minutes in length. And again, if you go into Blackboard and go under course materials, you'll see specific information, if you scroll down, about your self-introduction speech. It'll tell you the time limit and kind of tell you what I'm looking for in the speech, okay? And then there's also information in there about your other speeches, and then the formal outline, how to put together a formal outline. You do not have to submit a formal outline with this first speech, only the second and the third speech. So that's and I've had people use items from their home, pictures. I've had students do PowerPoints. I've had students get a paper sack and put different items in it, and they pull it out, items that represent who they are. So really think about what you want to share with your self-introduction speech. Along with any of your speeches, you're going to have an organized presentation, meaning you're going to have a good introduction, a body, and a conclusion. With an introduction, I do not want you, because I know who you are when you begin speaking, even on the videos, and I know it's so tempting to say, hello, my name is so-and-so. You don't have to do that. If you do say your name, say it in the second sentence. Don't begin with that, okay? Never begin a speech with that. What you need to do is come up with a catchy first sentence pertaining to your topic, pertaining to your speech, and present that. And then you can say, hello, my name is Kelly Arnold, and today I'm going to talk about this, this, and this. A great way to start an introduction is with a quote, or a play on words, or ask a question, something to gain that audience's attention. And I will keep going over this and kind of hammering you with this, because your introduction is so important. That's the first thing people hear. So make sure you begin with a catchy sentence. You do not have to say hello or your name in that first sentence or when the video starts. Jump right into your speech. Say that first sentence that's catchy, and then if you want to say your name, you don't have to, but if you want to, that's when you would do it in the second sentence. And then the rest of your introduction should let the audience know what's coming, what you're going to be talking about, and you should tell your main points, what you're going to be covering. So that leads us to the body of the presentation. That's where you develop your main points. So let's say for the self-introduction speech, your main points are my family, my faith, and my friends. Those are the 3 things that are most important to you that you want to share and cover in your self-introduction speech. I'm going to give probably equal time to each one of those main points. That's why they're a main point. And so the first main point would be my family. I would talk about my family, maybe my background, where I was born and raised, who's important to me, how they've contributed to my life, and things we like to do together. Things about your family. Of course, you may have to narrow it down, remembering it's a 2 to 4 minute speech, okay? And you need to stay, pretty much within that time frame. What I don't want is a 20-second speech, and I don't want a 10-minute speech. It needs to be 2 to 4 minutes. So I would shoot for 3 minutes. Then you would transition to your next main point after you talked about your family. Then you would go, let's say, faith. You chose faith to be your second main point. You would talk about the importance of that to you, why that's important to you. And you would have information in there about that. Then you would transition and move to the next point and talk about your friends, what y'all do together, where you hang out, things that you do, things you like to do, why your friends are vital in your life, etc. And then we come to the conclusion. So that body part of the speech, that's the meat and potatoes. That's where all your information is. The conclusion and the introduction should be about the same length, which is typically a good sized paragraph, maybe 2 small paragraphs. And they need to be equal. You need to give as much time to your conclusion as you gave to your introduction, because that's the last thing people hear. So in the conclusion, you need to say, in summary, you need to let the audience know you're ending, okay? And when you say you're ending, you need to end. You don't need to keep talking for another 30 minutes, is what I'm saying. So you can say, in summary, in conclusion, or to end with, something that just keys the audience in to know that you're ending. You need to summarize your main points. Not go back and give your whole speech again, but just highlight those main points one more time. Then you need to end with a really strong last sentence, okay? You could tie that last sentence back in with your introduction. You could leave with a quote, a play on words, a question, something the audience is going to take away from it and remember, okay? So that's your speech organization. So again, make sure that it's organized. You have a clear introduction, the clear body of the speech, and a clear conclusion. There are examples. If you go into Connect, to where your book's at, if you go under media, there's actually examples of speeches that you can review. And in Blackboard, if you go under course materials, scroll down, you have information on each speech. There is a video example for every speech you're going to give that you can watch to see a good example of how to put the speech together, okay, which I feel is really important. So that's your first speech. A couple of things I want to share before I get off here. When you're videoing, make sure that I can see you, I can see your face. However, you are to have an audience of at least 3 to 4 people. Let it be family members, friends, whoever. I'm one of those audience members, but I shouldn't be the only one. You should not be sitting down. You should be standing up. What I'm doing right now is an informational video, okay? Very informal, but this is not a speech. It's an informational video. So you should not be sitting down and just giving your presentation to the camera. That's not public speaking. That is an informational video. This class is public speaking, and the reason we're able to do it online is so if these rules are followed, basically. So you need an audience of 3 to 4 people, me being one of those in the camera. You need to have someone in your audience holding the camera or have it set up. I should be able to see your face and your hand gestures, because that is part of presenting is your delivery. So make sure I can see you. Make sure that you film your audience so I know they're there, and make sure you present to the audience. You shouldn't just be presenting to the camera like I'm doing. Like I said, what I'm doing right now is completely different than public speaking. Mine's just an informational video directly to you as the students. But in a speech, you want to present to the audience. You don't want to present to one person just like you wouldn't if you were in person. You want to look around the entire room, pretend like you have a room full of people, okay? And you're presenting to all of those. Have your audience members set different places in the room so you can look all around. That is a big part of public speaking. Make sure your volume's turned up, your camera's straight, that you're not sideways, because I've had that happen. And make sure that you submit your speech the way you need to. You're supposed to go in under coursework. If you're in Blackboard, you go under coursework, and you can click on whatever speech it is, and it'll prompt you to where you upload that presentation so I can grade it in Connect. Sometimes things happen. It doesn't upload for some reason. There are other ways to do it, like creating a YouTube video, which is what I'm doing now with this video. And you can submit that through email. You cannot send me directly your video through email. It's too big. So, but I only want that used in emergencies only. You need to upload your speeches in Connect, okay? For one thing, I can grade right there. I can give feedback right then as well. But what I usually do is I have a rubric in front of me, and there are example rubrics in Blackboard under coursework where all that good stuff is. And I set and grade you, and then I will scan in the graded rubrics and email those to you. Okay, so that's just a few housekeeping things just to keep in mind when you're videoing. And make sure the people that's in your audience, they're not being distracting. You don't have a television on in the background. Make sure people are dressed appropriately. I've had students that were sitting on their bed and gave a speech in their pajamas. that's not public speaking, and that's not appropriate for anything you're submitting online to a professor or in an academic setting. It's just not professional, and that's part of that EES. But also, I've seen audience members not dress professional either. I'm not talking about dressing up in your Sunday best. I'm not even talking about putting on khaki pants and a nice shirt. But I guess more what I'm talking about is that everybody's dressed modestly, okay? Realizing they're going to be on camera and other people are seeing, or me, I'm going to be seeing the videos, okay? So just keep those things in mind, not just for my class, but any online class that you're doing where you have to submit an actual video. I think that's all I have today. I'll be back next week with an informational video going over the first few chapters that are, it actually will be your first discussion board and the chapters involved in that, and I'll give like a summary and overview of it. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing your speeches. Have a great day.